Now, new vehicle sales in South Africa plummeting by just under 30%, all due to the crippling effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is a heavy blow to an industry that contributes just over 6% to GDP. It's a drop back, we're told, to sales levels of 2 decades, 20 years ago. From the National Association of Automobile Manufacturers. Joining me now at lunchtime, Mikel Mabasa, the Chief Executive. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Is this current situation that faces your industry worse than you imagined?
Absolutely. I think it took us by surprise, particularly at the beginning of March last year when COVID-19 was first announced. Because initially when we started 2020, we actually looked at our numbers and we're actually anticipating a 5% decline in terms of our overall new vehicle sales for 2020. But certainly, I think when the year ended in December, we ended up obviously at 29% decline, which was huge, which is more than obviously a quarter, of new vehicle sales compared to the corresponding period last year.
What's the short-term prognosis, and how long do you think it's going to take before the industry resembles some degree of recovery?
Well, look, I think we're very hopeful, particularly for 2021, because we believe very strongly that a lot of customers are obviously aware of the current lockdown restrictions, and they can definitely be able to navigate themselves around what the restrictions brings to them. And a lot of customers, in fact, in 2020 also delayed new purchases, primarily because of the fact that 2020 obviously was engulfed by the COVID-19. What we've seen during the year, we've seen a lot of customers obviously prolonging their motor plans, which means that they would walk into a dealership and request, for an example, to buy additional months, for an example, additional 6 months or so, in order for them to be able to keep their current fleet, in order for them to be at least go through the balance of the year. So we are very hopeful that this year, naturally, a lot of people will certainly be able to be looking forward to new procurement of vehicles. The second other area that we're very hopeful about is certainly about the rental business, because you recall that in 2020, a lot of our rental companies, which is the third biggest customer for us across the industry, never bought brand new vehicles. In fact, they were defleeting vehicles in 2020. And we are very hopeful that this year, because that industry is back online, a lot of people are now traveling, or certainly we are very hopeful that rental companies will start fleeting again for 2021.
Mikel Mabasa, I'm going to ask for a quick answer to this one, but the landscape inevitably has changed. It's going to be with you in this form for a long time. Do you see the possibility of some of the smaller or more marginal brands now saying, enough is enough, we're going to leave South Africa?
Well, look, I think that is highly unlikely. We thought that that would be the case last year, and we've actually been interacting with a lot of them towards the end of the year, and I think many of them have indicated that they're still committed to South Africa and they will still invest in the country, and they will obviously stick it up and be able to make sure that we're able to come onto the other side of the equation. Because certainly vehicle sales, obviously, and the decline that we've seen in South Africa is not unique to the country, but certainly we've seen a global decline across the world over.
New vehicle sales in South Africa plummeting by just under 30%. That is Mikel Mabasa, Chief Executive Officer of the National Association of Automobile Manufacturers.